All right, for this next part of the video, we're going to be looking at how to get it into the embroidery machine. So the first thing you're going to need is the keychain. Okay, it looks like this. It's hanging by the machine somewhere. Don't lose this. This is really old and it's really good for this embroidery machine. Some of these do not work. So if you see this laying around the lab, it goes over to the embroidery machine. Okay. The two files that came off the machine that you put into a folder, they need to go on this keychain. They can't be in a folder. They have to be just right directly in the open USB. Okay, no folders at all. All right, so we'll start by plugging it into the unit. When we do that, we plug it into this, not this. Okay. Make sure you're plugging it into this. Just like that. All right. So in order to retrieve that into memory, turn that off. And we're going to just frame this. All right. Now, what we'll do is go in and first load it into memory. Okay. So you go to the star menu, little button right there, and then you use the arrows, drop down, and say input design into memory. Okay, and then hit return. Then you choose your design. In this case, it was called 05 feature. And you notice because it has this little number in back of it, or in front of it, it allows me to see which one to load into memory. That's the trick. If you make a mistake, you can always make a new rendition, but always rename it with a little number underscore in front of it, and it's very easy to find in this menu. Again, let me zoom in so you can see that. So see the 05 on there? Yeah. If I make another mistake, it's going to be called 06. Just a tip if you make a lot of mistakes. I already made like 4 mistakes. That's pretty common with embroidery. All right. So what we do is hit enter. This is going to go into slot 14, it says. So I'll remember that number. And then escape. All right, next, we're going to select design for memory. And then hit enter. It won't let me go in here yet, so I'll hit escape and show you why. So there's a little indicator right here. Zoom in on that. Notice that it is yellow. What we're going to do is get that to be red. So we're going to click on this, hit enter, and now it's red. With that red, now I can go into this button again and say select design for embroidery, hit enter. And this, I'm going to choose number 14. You can see the little 14 indicated right. That first number right there is slot 14. Not this one, this one. 014 is the slot number. So I hit enter. And then enter. And we have now it into memory. So now I can turn this back onto embroidery mode, clicking here and enter. Now that's back on. All right, so the next stage is what we have to do is get this to needle 1. Okay? In order to do that, I like to hit 2 first. Okay, moved. Good job. Because it could already be on needle 1. And if it didn't move, I wouldn't know that. So if I go to 1, yay, it worked. So now I know that I have to center this design. Okay, I have to center this needle in the center of this hoop. All right, let me zoom out here, show you how that works. So I'm going to first use this joystick to get this needle in the center. Now it's moving real slow. You see how it's moving real slow? If I want it to move faster, I'll hit this button. And now when I use the joysticks, real fast. So be careful. But I can get to about where it needs to go, where this is centered this way and this way in the hoop. So I get generally close like that. Then I'll hit this button again. And now I can microscope it and eyeball it the best I can. This is called centering the needle. Once I am done, I go set home. Okay, so to do that, we go home and we set it to set start and then hit enter and then hit enter. So now it's centered on the hoop and it's centered in the design. Boom, boom. All right, once we've done that, we can now run a contour check on the design. If the contour check fails, we have to redo what I just did. Okay, and sometimes it does fail, and sometimes we have to reset the center. It should go back to the center. If it does not go back to the center, it has failed and you'll have to rerun it. So let's look at running a contour check. If you do not run this contour check, the needle will hit this thing and bust and damage the machine possibly. So you have to run a contour check for every design that we do. All right, in order to load that in memory and run a contour check, what we do is go to our home. And then we go down to contour range check. I'm going to just hit enter and then enter. It's doing its thing. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a sec. But I want you to see what it looked like here first. And it did go back to center. So let me show you what that looks like here. I'm going to do that very same thing. Again, I am going to go to home, contour range check, enter, and that's what it looks like. Okay, as it's going along, this needle right here must not get near the green. Okay, it has to stay within a ½ inch. If you're unsure about it, you're unsure about the design at all, it is best to just kind of like lightly push this down with something, not your finger. Okay, and run the contour check again. Well, have it ready so you can like lift up on this. So is it getting close? It's getting really close to that back, but not the front. So this is good. So what I'm going to do is actually kind of repair it a little bit to show you how that works so we can get it away from the back. Okay? So what we're going to do is just move it . Okay? We're going to move it forward just a little bit. I microscoped it, and I'm going to set a new start. So home, set start, enter. Okay, now I'm going to run that contour check again and see if it is a little bit better. So it stays away from the green hoop. Again, just look at it. And yes, it is good. This play arrow is in the way, but here, let's do that again so you can see it. Run these 2-3 times, just, you know, make 100% sure so we don't damage the machine. All right, cool. Looks good. All right, so for the next step, we're going to be looking at if we have enough bobbin. I'm going to have to get a different tripod out here to show you that, though. All right, so this under area, hot mess, is the bobbin area. Here is the hoop. And what we have to do is make sure that we have enough bobbin. Okay? So in order to do that, there is a little this. Okay? This is very fragile, this little arm. Okay, we do not want to interact with it as much as possible. Okay, we do not bend this out. We do not push it in. We just, like, if it's only going this amount, we do not push it any further than that, and we don't push it any further than that. We be very delicate with the arm. Okay? So, in order to get the bobbin out, we go like this, and then pull it out. Just like that. All right. So here is the bobbin. I'll pull this out just to have the worst case scenario. If this has no thread on the bobbin, okay, this is how you put a new bobbin in. You put this into here, and you'll see this little stripe. Okay? Put it in that stripe. Then we go like that. And then it should be just like that. Okay? Then you locate this little pigtail. Okay? It's located right here. If I can zoom in, there's a little tail. It looks like a pig's tail, curly. And we wrap it around that so that it comes out the center of it. See it? Just like that. All right, in order to put this bobbin back in, what we do is we hold open the gate, and then we get any thread out of the way. We really get in here, and very delicately, we try to get it back in position. Now I'm struggling because I'm also recording this at the same time. Not really that hard. Most time it slides in the way. I'm not pushing this any further out than it needs to be. And there we go. Now it doesn't look locked. There we go. Now it's Hopefully my hands didn't get in the way too much for that, but yeah, there it is. This piece of thread stays off to the side. This thread, we can technically cut this. It was from the above, or we can just pull on it to break it off. Okay, if that was coming from above, this is the important thread. It's just right there. There is this little door. Okay. Day one, it broke. A piece of plastic here. So what we need to do is just push this back on there. Just like that. Very easy. So we have to change that every once in a while, like let's say 6 or 8 designs, we'll have to change that out. All right, this next part of the video is about thread breaking and setup. So this is going to be if your thread breaks. This is the topmost area of the machine. This barely ever breaks. If this like somehow breaks up here, come see me, is probably something very serious wrong. So I'm going to start from right here as a thread break and show you how to repair that. Okay. So thread break. So what we're first going to do is look at the mechanics of this. It broke there. The first thing that we come to is this. Okay. That one is very easy. You just go and take it and loop it. And then loop it like that. Then we go around one time. I say that. So loop it. Loop it one more time around in back of that peg. And then in back of this peg. So you know you have it if you hear this little, there's a click. Okay? Little clicky noise as I pull this thread. It's making the clicky noise, you got it down. All right? Now what we do is put it in back of this little this thing. Okay. Again, you can pull on it. If you hear the clicky noise, you're good to go. It's very rare that it breaks from here, anywhere here, but just in case, that's how you change that area. So let's move on to the next section of the thread break and show you how that works. All right, so the next section is you open this up. And we come to this area here. First off, make sure that this is running straight off of this. If it looks like this, it's going to fail. And if it looks like this is going to fail, it needs to come out straight. All right, I'm going to zoom into this little first mechanism. It's the most challenging of all of it. We're going to need a pair of tweezers for this. And what you do is you cut your string. And then what we do is push this little thing up. And what we're going to do is it has a hole right here. It's in the loop. Okay? You push it up and the thread goes into that hole. I promise you I will struggle while recording this. Okay. Once it goes up, we take a pair of tweezers and we pull this piece of thread out. Okay, so it looks like this. It goes into this back of it, into this loop, and then out to the other side. I should be able to do this little mechanism if I pull the thread. Okay, that's probably the most challenging for students to be able to do, that little thing right there. The next is so easy. All right, so what we do here is we put it into this loop right here. Like that. So that looks like that. And then it goes down and goes into this little hole right here, this little tan hole. So now I should be able to want to test this to see how it all works. Okay, as I'm pulling the string, this will rotate and click, going in back of here. You see, as I'm pulling the string through this hole, it's also engaging this little mechanism right here, this little spring. I just keep pulling if I want, just to see how it all works. Yeah, cool. Easy. Next step, a little more challenging because of it needs to go into a needle. And we're going to kind of look at that. All right, so now we're at this hole here. Okay, this is needle 1. I'm going to trim my thread again. And then I'm going to put it through this hole. All right, there is a little hook that it goes over. Okay, you can kind of see that hook. So now if I get that right, you can see that is going in back of that hook. All right, next step is getting it through the eye of the needle. So I'm going to try to zoom in on this best I can. Like that. And I'm going to cut the thread. So this time I'm going to use really sharp scissors for the cut. The sharper the better, so that it enables to go through this center of the needle. Do not wet the thread. You do not need to do that. What I do is I hold it like 1 inch away from the thread, and I just poke it into the hole. You see how fast that was. The other challenging part is actually just to get it with the tweezers. And I need to pull this so that it does not knot. I'll show you what that looks like. If these tweezers are not working well, it's because somebody dropped them on the floor. So I need to make sure that that thread goes into the needle. And see how it's like doing this little twisty thing? So right there is how it needs to go. It needs to go straight into the front of the needle and straight out the back of the needle. If it's knotted, it will cut every time and you'll have to redo everything. So now I just put this into the spring and I trim it. So that it has about that much left. It's in the spring and we're good to go. And that is how you thread the embroidery machine. Pretty lengthy process, but once you do it about 1 billion times, you'll get really fast at it. And it will happen. All right, the next stage is we close this blue thing. Okay, we ran our contour check. We've checked our thread. We've got it reinitialized as far as our thread is concerned. You can always run another contour check just to make sure at this point, but we should be good to go. All right, so that means that we can hit the green button. Now, if it fails, we can always hit the stop button or the emergency stop if it's worst case scenario. So hit the green button. So it's important to know that if you're doing a design like this, that it must be slow. Okay. So if anybody's turned up the actual speed of the machine, it needs to be down again. You need to slow down the machine in order to run something like this. So let me show you how to adjust the speed of the machine. Yeah. If we click this button, it will slow it down, and this one will speed it up. So right now it's on 540. If I'm doing this type of stitching, okay, that's called a turning stitch. All right, if you get a thread break, you know how to fix it already. Please rewind the video to the thread break section. At the very end, I'll include how to replace the needle, just in case the needle breaks. All right, a needle break happens. The first thing we got to do is locate the needles. If you look in the drawer in back of you in the tool cabinet, you're going to find these. Okay. Knit is what we want. I use knit for just about everything, but we do have some silk needles too, for finer details. We never get that high in the learning because it takes so long to learn it. So here I have a little screw. That screw right there. Okay. So let's pretend this needle has broken. Oops, it broke. First thing you need to do is loosen this screw, and the needle will just drop down like that. Okay. Then The needle, if you look at it, has a flute on the backside. Okay, it's got two sides. Wait. Yeah, on this side, it's got this little channel. And on the other side, it does not have a channel. Okay. The side with the channel goes in the front. Okay. And I could do this without having my hands in there. So I'm gonna maybe use some tweezers. Do not need tweezers, but I want to do this so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to thread it up. Okay. Look for the side with the channel. And I'm going to then push it up through this hole. Okay. The channel needs to be facing you so that it's coming straight off the machine. If this hole is at an angle, it will tear threads. Okay. So what I do is I use a pair of tweezers, and I go like this, and it slides nicely into that channel or the flat of the needle. If I squeeze these tweezers, it does a really good job. And then with my other hand, I'll reach in here and tighten the screw. And then I will let go and then tighten it a little bit more, not too much though, just slightly. So that dexterity it's a dexterity crunch for students to be able to change that needle. If you struggle, don't feel bad. I do want you to have the experience of changing the needle, however. I think it's really good for you. We have 1 billion needles, so if you do break one, it's not going to be horrible. So now I just rethread the needle. And away we go. Struggle again getting that needle threaded. The biggest thing there is you didn't use a pair of sharp enough scissors. If I hold this, I can kind of guide it back.